Welcome to the Inventor's Edge podcast, where insight meets innovation. Whether you're sketching your first idea or refining a finished product, you're in the right place. Our mission is to equip you with the tools, expertise, and clarity you need to succeed as an inventor, while helping you conquer fears and limiting beliefs that may be holding you back. I'm your host, Scott Putnam, founder and CEO of Inventor's Edge. Before becoming a seasoned product development coach, I was a wide-eyed inventor with a head full of ideas but no clear path forward. I know firsthand what it's like to feel stuck, uncertain, and overwhelmed. Fast forward to today, I'm a successful entrepreneur with multiple licensing deals and products on the market. I'm committed to helping inventors like you overcome obstacles, conquer fears, and transform your ideas into tangible success through proven, actionable, step-by-step strategies that deliver real results. Join us as we bring in industry pros, share expert advice, and dive deep into the world of innovation. Ready to turn your ideas into reality? Let's get started. Today, we've got an amazing guest, Liz Garcia. Liz is the owner of Storage Theory, a seven-figure home organization brand with products you've probably seen on Amazon, Walmart.com, and even TikTok Shop. She's also the co-founder of GW Spice Company, helping schools and student groups raise funds with creative products. Liz is an amazing entrepreneur. Beyond building businesses, she hosts the Liz Garcia Show, where she inspires purpose-driven go-getters with real stories, smart business strategies, and even some fun decluttering tips. Along with her husband, she now coaches other product-based entrepreneurs and Amazon sellers on how to scale to 6 and 7 figures. At her core, Liz is a bold, multi-passionate entrepreneur who leads with authenticity and heart. I know you're going to love her. Today, she's here to share the story of how she and her husband took the leap into entrepreneurship, grew Storage Theory into a powerhouse brand, and the lessons she's learned along the way. Liz drops a ton of wisdom about being an entrepreneur and taking the leap. So let's jump right into it. Okay, Liz, welcome to the Inventor's Edge show. How are you?
I'm doing great, Scott. Thanks so much for having me today.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. And this is really cool for me because we live in the same town. So this is really, we probably could have done this in person, but that's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
We're here now. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from, which I already know that, but we'll share it. And then we can jump into some questions.
Yeah. Well, my name is Liz Garcia, and I'm originally from Wisconsin. Go Badgers. And I've been living in Iowa for several years now. And so I grew up in a really small town in southwest part of Wisconsin and went to college at University of Wisconsin-Platteville. My background's in graphic design, which I'll kind of touch on that a little bit later. And I was in corporate for several years. So I was in a lot of like publishing sales. And then we'll get into the story in just a second, but I have been a full-time entrepreneur now for about a year, a little over a year. So I quit corporate last August and I've been really enjoying it ever since. So that's kind of the quick bio about me. I currently live in Monticello. So I'm actually 30 minutes down the road from you. I'm from Dubuque. But yeah, we used to live in Dubuque and now we live in Monticello, which is partway between Dubuque and Cedar Rapids, Iowa area.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I was thinking, not Dubuque, but then there was something telling me it wasn't exactly that.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
It's so interesting transitioning from the corporate world into becoming an entrepreneur. I had done the same thing, and there was a lot of things that were like, oh, this is so amazing. And then there was a lot of things like, oh, I kind of miss having people that do this stuff.
Yes.
It all lands on you. You're it. You and your husband. With that in mind, I know, so your brand, Storage Theory, you guys didn't build it from scratch, but you discovered it, right? And purchased it.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that story, how you found it and how that opportunity came about?
Yeah, absolutely. And to give the listener some more context, I've kind of been on both spectrums of it now. I am a serial entrepreneur where my husband and I have multiple companies. One of the first one is GW Spice Co. And we co-founded that a couple years ago in 2021. So we started that company from the ground up. And then, like you said, about a year ago, we purchased a well-established company, which is called Storage Theory. And so how we came upon this is my husband just was searching online for companies up for sale. And he discovered that this storage company was selling, or at least the owner was looking to sell it. And so this was about like January of not 2024, but 2023. And so we started 2024. But we started conversations with the owner. A couple months later, we got into more serious, like actual negotiations with him, and then eventually purchased it July 1st of last year. So it was a very quick process, and it's wild to be on both spectrums where you have a company that you co-founded from the ground up versus purchasing a well-established company. So that's really kind of how we came to be. And for me, being an entrepreneur, I love sharing the behind the scenes of how things come to place or how things happen. And so the way that we were able to afford purchasing this company, we ended up taking out a HELOC. So for those listeners who don't know, home equity line of credit. And so you're basically borrowing against your mortgage. And so we during COVID, built up a lot of equity in our home. And so we utilized that to our advantage to take out a loan as the down payment for this company. And so here we are today, a year later. We're hoping to cross the 7-figure mark this year. And our primary focus is on Amazon, but we also sell on TikTok Shop, Walmart.com, and then a company called Fair.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate the clarification about the spice company. So you've had corporate, you've had complete startup from scratch, and then also purchasing a brand that has been in existence and building that up as well.
Yeah.
Do you have time to sleep at night? How do you fit all this in?
Oh my goodness. I'm like an Enneagram 7, which is like a squirrel brain. So I get distracted easily, which doesn't really bode well with entrepreneurship, but it does also, come as an advantage where, it is hard to focus at times, but I think it's also interesting to have multiple interests. Like I want to kind of be that spokesperson for the listener where you don't always have to have the focus on one thing in life. Like it's okay to have multiple passions in your life because at the end of the day, it's probably going to change down the road, right? Today, if you're interested in one thing, it doesn't mean you're going to have that same interest 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years down from now. So I think one of the main messages here is at least trying something to see what that outcome could be.
Yeah, taking that risk, what made you guys decide, to take the leap from corporate to leap right into entrepreneurship? Because it's a big leap. It's a big mental leap as well as, riskier with needing some capital to make it all happen. What made you decide to just do it?
Yeah, the root cause of kind of the fire or that spark to light the fire under our butts was really a couple years ago. So my husband actually went through a cancer diagnosis in 2021, and we found out that news when we were pregnant. We were 7 months pregnant with our son Luca, and so as you can imagine, like it was just a really tough season, a lot of emotions, like roller coaster of emotions, and he ended up finding out it was stage 1 testicular cancer. So a couple weeks after diagnosis, he had the surgery to remove the tumor. And then our son was actually born 4 weeks early and in the back of an ambulance, mind you. That's a story for another day. But when our son was 4 weeks old, my husband went through chemotherapy. So luckily, several months later, it was February of 2022, we received the amazing news of his remission. And then it was really that same time frame where it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call that life's way too damn short not to be chasing after the things that light you up in life. And as cliche as that sounds, like that has really been the motivating factor for us in a lot of the decisions we've made since then. So 2 months after getting the remission news, that was when we co-founded GW Spice Co. And then that same month, I actually launched my podcast. So it really, having this traumatic type of news is what catapulted us to where we are today.
Wow. So powerful. Yeah, when you get some news like that, especially with everything else that's going on, And it seems like things all happen at once, right? That just seems to be
Yeah.
how life is. You're so spot on with so many. The idea that inventors have the squirrel brain. We just do. I think that's how we're hardwired. Welcome to being an inventor. But to have that realization that we have a finite amount of time on this planet, like, what do you want to do with that? Are you going to keep your really good ideas locked away in your head and your mind and your heart forever? Or are you going to get them out into the world? And yeah, congratulations on getting through all that and creating what you wanted. I mean, manifesting your dreams essentially, like really
Yeah.
going for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about storage theory. Can you tell us kind of what that brand is all about? And I know it's on Amazon and you have it in some TikTok shop and Fair and some other places too. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, and then I want to talk about some of the turning points that help sort of as you're working on scaling it up.
Yeah, yeah. So storage theory at its core, we really offer, I like to use the term genius, like, because, and it's, not being too bold, but we offer genius home organization products. And so the reason why I say genius is they're very unique and it's not your typical like cookie cutter type of organization products. And so one of our top selling products, which is patented, is called the Power Perch Outlet Shelf. And it's just this little shelf that you can add above any outlet. All you do is remove the current outlet cover, you put this shelving unit over top of it, and then you reinstall the outlet cover right back over top. So there's no drilling involved. And so we really try to not only help people declutter space in their home, but maximize the space that they've got. So, most of our target market, it's like younger or busy moms, busy people who just don't have a lot of time to go through and organize their home, right? Especially if you've got kiddos at home, life gets busy. And so these products really help just people declutter spaces in a very quick amount of time. And plus also offering products that just don't break the bank. And then
Yeah.
our second best-selling product is a Scrub Daddy sponge holder. So it does exactly what the name says. It holds a Scrub Daddy sponge and it suctions to the side of the sink to help keep it clean and dry, and essentially helps make it have a longer lifespan.
I've seen these products. I met you at 1 million cups, which is really a cool thing locally. And your presentation was amazing. And you brought in these products. And I'm looking at these going, what is all this? This looks incredible. So cool. Very innovative products.
Yes.
What do you think? So, in terms of scaling that up, have there been any real turning points that have come up that really helped you? Or what were some of those key things that helped you scale? And were there any surprises with
Yeah.
doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to help scale, number one, we really needed to have the right data. And what I mean by that, especially if you have an Amazon business, Scott, how important it is to have your keywords like spot on. And you really just have to have everything fine tuned to making sure you're pleasing the algorithm on Amazon, right? And so that was really important for us. When we purchased the company, we were very fortunate in the sense that the prior owner was utilizing an AI software that helps manage the Amazon ads. So that
Mm.
really was a time saver for us. And the company is called Autron. For those listeners who are curious, it's AUTRON. Every now, we've had up to like 2,000 ads running on Amazon at one time. So as you can imagine, like taking that over would be incredibly overwhelming. Like for me, like hearing that number is like mind blowing yet today. But that was something that we knew we needed to have help. And so to help continue scaling, we're constantly refining along the way. And I think that's a really important message for people to hear, is to just start and then you can always refine later on. I think people get really
Yeah.
caught up, especially in the beginning stage, perfectionist tendencies. And I am telling you right now, I am a recovering perfectionist. Like I had a graphic design degree in college, so I took a lot of art classes. And by default, like I've just always been very good about like paying attention to the details, which is
Hmm.
great. But I also had like a pretty thin skin in college. And so sitting in those art classes, having your art teacher pick apart your painting or drawing, like it helps build some thick skin for me. And so I'm utilizing that now to bring on constructive criticism. I think it's so important for people to get not only just to start and refine along the way, but to get outside perspective from others who might have a different view than you do on ways to improve or ways to just tweak your imaging just a little bit more. One thing that we are constantly utilizing, especially with having an Amazon business, there is a free service on Amazon where you can do A/B testing. And so, really, for those listeners, A/B testing is where you compare apples to apples. So, on Amazon, if you've got an Amazon business, maybe you want to update your main image, right, of your product. So, maybe you want to take your current image and then utilize something that you tweaked, and then you go in and ask Amazon, which one would you rate higher and why? So,
Mhm.
that data extremely important if you're wanting to not only scale, but just to also beat out the competition along the way.
Yeah, so important. A/B testing in general is so huge, and I think it's not that fun for a lot of people. Like,
Right,
oh,
right.
I want to do the creative stuff. I want to do the fun stuff, but it's one of those hard necessary things you need to
Hmm.
do and be objective. Like you said with your art teacher, I had those first few criticisms had to feel like daggers.
Yes. You
But
take
for
it so personally, but then you're like, okay, like that was needed. I needed to hear this.
you do, and as inventors, our ideas are born out of us. They're kind of our babies, and nobody wants to hear their babies ugly, and it's
Hmm.
hard to hear, but
Yeah.
it's important, and I talk about this when I'm coaching all the time, is we need to get that feedback and be objective. We need objective feedback and be open to it instead of like, well, they're an idiot. They don't know what they're talking about. It's like, well, if you have
Hmm.
5 people telling you the same thing that are seeing it from a different perspective, it might be something to pay attention to.
Yeah, and we utilize Chat GPT all the time. So,
Mhm.
if someone doesn't have the resources or the means, like financially, to
Mhm.
invest in, let's say, like an agency to help out, like get scrappy. Like that's really what we've had to do this last year. When the interesting thing when you purchase a well-established company is there's so much overhead because not only do you have a down payment on the company, but we also have quarterly lease payments. So we ended up doing, in addition to the HELOC for having the down payment, our contract is basically a 3-year lease to buy. And we did that specifically to mitigate the risk on our end, but it is still a large payment at the end of the day. And so it's just one
Yeah.
thing that we try to get scrappy, and Chat GPT has been amazing for just providing us ideas, generating ideas that maybe we didn't think of. And
Mhm.
we also do A/B testing on Chat GPT too, just to have like a different perspective.
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about AI. For inventors, it's such an amazing tool. I'm working on some things in that arena to just some tools to help inventors. There's another one, I don't know if you've heard of it, called PickFu,
No?
PICKFU.com. And it's where you can choose your audience, you can choose how many people, some of the demographics, and you can have them give you feedback on which image do you like better, A or B. Or there's other things you can test as well, like do you like this copy? Which one of these two things would you like better and why? And they have to say why. It's great objective feedback because it's not your mom or your friend that doesn't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know this person, I don't care, I'm gonna be honest. So you'll get better data that way.
I'll have to check that out. That's interesting. Yeah.
It's a good site, and you can choose how many people, and the price adjusts depending on how big your audience is, so it's pretty cool. And many of our listeners have big ideas, very creative, but a lot of times feel really overwhelmed with bringing a product to market themselves. What advice would you give somebody that's like, okay, I'm sitting here listening, I have a really cool idea, I love this product, I have prototypes, I know what works. Maybe they've tried licensing, maybe not, but they want to get it to market and they're willing to maybe do it themselves. What advice would you give about starting small and really testing ideas and trying to build some momentum without getting really stuck?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of touched on this a little bit is like you just have to start somewhere, especially in the beginning stages. My husband doesn't like when I use this terminology, but it's such a good visual, I think, for people is throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks, right? Like, especially when it comes to inventors, like you're going to have a million ideas come up, like you said, and you just never know which is going to be the one that might stick with the market or consumers these days. And so it really truly is about trial and error. If one thing doesn't work, move on to the next. And one of the things that I kind of regret, I believe, over the last several years with me being a perfectionist is I took things so personally and I would view mistakes as failures. And I can say, like, when you can change your mindset to viewing mistakes as a failure and view it as a learning opportunity, it completely changes the way that you perceive life and business. Because rather than feeling down, because it's like if you view things as a mistake, you're probably going to feel a little bit down for a while, right? You're going to like be a little depressed down in the dumps. And rather than wasting that energy feeling like you're a failure, what if you then utilize that energy to be like, no, like this is a learning opportunity. It's kind of like, was it Edison just found it 10,000 ways not to do something, or
Yeah.
so that's really that same concept is this is just providing me more data on what not to do next time. So that would be one of my biggest pieces of advice is to just view everything as a learning opportunity and not get too stuck in the weeds on having everything perfect. For
Yeah.
me, like especially with social media these days, everything is so perfectly curated, especially on your Instagram and Facebooks, all of that. And the one thing that I still have to remind myself is, when you mess something up, share that with the world, because when people see that, you're actually way more relatable than the perfectly curated content that's out on social media. So
Yeah.
that's what I tend to do too. I am on social media frequently since I am also a podcaster. And I love when I see behind the scenes from other people because it's like, yeah, like they're human too. They also mess up, right? And so I try to put myself in those shoes and I do share mistakes. I share, what, this is something we learned. We're not going to do it again, but hey, like this is what happens. This is life and this is reality. So again, the other piece of advice is just know if you make a mistake, it's only going to be more relatable, more than likely to your consumers.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard fail fast. If you want to be
Yeah.
successful in
Yes.
business, like fail fast.
Yeah.
Learn, get up, dust yourself off, don't dwell on it. Take that data that you've got from that mistake and use it going forward and don't let it deflate your balloon because
Hmm.
I don't know that there's anybody that's started a business or brought a product to market that did it perfectly
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah. No
I've never
way.
heard that story, or if they did, they're probably sugarcoating or, lying.
Yeah.
I love what you said too about keep it real, keep it raw, share the mistakes, be vulnerable. I think for a lot of people that's hard to do.
Hmm.
And I find too that when I'm posting on social, if I share a mistake or something that didn't go right, it's like I get a lot more comments. And because
Yes.
especially with AI, if somebody's using it for the post, there's not even a little spelling error. There's no grammatical errors. It's so polished and so perfect. It's like this shiny piece of art behind this glass thing in a museum. Like you can't touch it.
Hmm.
It's
And
so
I
interesting.
Well, and I think it's the relatability is it's authentic, right? Like I think authenticity sells. And I think a lot of people forget that is
Yeah.
you being just your authentic self is going to resonate with so many more people than you trying to come across as the perfect spokesperson for your company.
That's you're so spot on. Even with the podcast, like I know I could probably be incredibly polished and try to be incredibly perfect and never mess up a word, but it's like that's not real life.
Yeah.
It's not authentic.
There
So
is I was gonna say there's a podcaster in the area in Cascade, Iowa. Her name's Molly Knuth. Shout out to her. She's a podcast host of the Found podcast. And I distinctly remember like one episode that stands out is I want to say her kids were like bugging her at the door and she continued recording and she didn't even edit it out. And I was laughing my butt off because she like kept this whole little blooper blurb in her episode, but it's like it was the most memorable episode that I can still remember today. Like
yeah,
seriously, like I think that should be a testament to just be yourself and you know what? Stuff's going to happen and you just kind of have to roll with the punches, honestly.
for Absolutely. It's funny. I have to keep the door open right over here, which you can't see. And we have a cat that sometimes jumps up on my desk. You see like this tail going back and forth. Haven't, knock on wood, haven't had her do that on a podcast yet, but I'm always keeping an eye just to make sure.
Yeah.
Changing channels a little bit. So now you and your husband, you coach other product-based business owners. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what we've learned, like all the skills and the tools that we've learned this last year of taking over storage theory, because we
Mhm.
jumped right in head first and we've had to teach ourselves how to learn the back end. And so it's like, at least with my husband and I, we've been a great yin and yang where I'm more of the face of the company, the social media, and more of the proactive outreach. And then my husband's a lot more of the behind the scenes guy. So he's the one constantly updating our SEO, our keywords, descriptions, managing our ads. And so we really operate as a team in that respective way. And so, for us, we always want to try to give back. And we thought that this would be a fantastic opportunity to at least almost prove to ourselves of what we've learned this last year. And so we've just had opportunities kind of fall in our lap on ways to help other current Amazon sellers scale their company. And so we're working with a few companies at the moment. We're helping them update their imaging or at least provide recommendations on how to potentially get more revenue out of them. So with me, my graphic design background has really leaned in well with like updating imaging. And then my husband has a lot more of the expertise with like the keywords, descriptions, all of that. So yeah,
Mhm.
we're really excited to be helping businesses. It's one of those things where you just need to ask for help. And we're really excited to kind of be that person to help other people scale.
Absolutely. Learning from other people's mistakes is one of the best way to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. And or your own mistakes.
Right, absolutely. It's coaching is such a powerful thing, and I think there are people that are really open to it and people that are more like, "I'm very capable, I can figure this out myself."
Hmm.
With that in mind, what's one common mistake that you see people make when they're trying to really grow on platforms like Amazon or, maybe some of the Shopify or some of the other ones?
I want to kind of share. So, one mistake that I made is I waited too long to ask for help. And I know that answer might not resonate with everybody because, again, budgets, especially in the beginning, are really lean, especially when it comes to like marketing budgets and things like that, let alone being able to hire somebody on your team. But, I've really been handling all of our FBM orders, so fulfilled by merchant, which means that I'm manually sending out these Amazon orders for a few of our SKUs. Well, that
Mm,
adds up over time, right? And so I waited too long to hire part time help to help offload more of the duties that really aren't in my zone of genius. And so, even though it's amazing to get scrappy, like I think one mistake people tend to make is waiting too long and then they end up getting or feeling that burnout and then they end up just kind of resenting the business a little bit. Like that's just kind of the reality of what can happen. And so this summer when we take a annual vacation with my husband, our kids, and then my parents and brother. And so it forced us to have to hire somebody that week if we wanted to continue managing our Amazon orders. And so we hired a high schooler. And then now we have two part-time high schoolers. They're actually our neighbors that are helping out with orders at least once or twice a week. And I can't tell you, it's one of those moments where I'm like, I kick myself in the butt for not doing it sooner. But again, it's a lesson learned, right? But I do think people wait too long to either bring on help or to ask for help just because the entrepreneurial spirit, you want that control and you want to just do it yourself sometimes because you feel like other people might not do it as well as you. But at the end of the day, like the focus needs to be on your zone of genius and the things that really excite you most. That's really what's going to help grow and scale your business.
spot on. Zone of Genius. That should be the title of your first book.
Yeah, right.
I love that. It's so true as entrepreneurs, inventive people, innovators. A lot of us are really capable of a lot and we think, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And part of it is there's this idea that nobody can do it as well as I can,
Hmm.
as well as the control piece of it, where it's hard to give up control. I think of children, you have a baby, like that first time you leave with a babysitter, even if it's a mother-in-law or something, it's like, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to feed her the same way, or diapers,
Exactly.
all that stuff. And then you do it and you're like, this is amazing. It was great.
Right.
Why didn't I
Why
do it
did,
sooner?
yep. Why didn't I do it sooner? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think part of it too is, like you mentioned, your zone of genius. What am I really good at? What am I not great at that I could have somebody else do? There's a really good book called Buy Back Your Time. Shout
Dan
out.
Martell? Yes.
Yeah, Dan, the man. Really good. And it really talks a lot about this and how to do it. It's really incredible. And the value of doing that, spending more of your time on what matters, what's really going to move your business forward, instead of
Hmm.
being everything. You're the salesperson, you're also the admin person. And I'm dealing with a lot of that with Inventor's Edge now, where I have people, but I'm kind of doing a lot of the day-to-day stuff, where I need to have somebody else do that so I can
Hmm.
focus more on, getting clients and things. So great points. You also have a passion with, speaking of zone of genius, decluttering and simplifying life. What is that mindset of less clutter, more focus? Maybe how does
Yeah.
that apply to entrepreneurship and scaling your business?
Oh my gosh, it affects so much. There's that saying out there, a cluttered space is a cluttered mind. A cluttered
Mhm.
space is a cluttered mind. And it rings so true in both life and business because, picture yourself. If you are walking into your home, it's like as we're recording this today, my kiddos started school this week. And so our house has been a disaster to say the least, right? Like
I
there's
get it.
all everywhere. They've got,
Yeah.
their backpacks, and my daughter, I love her. She's so creative, but she's got crafts and papers everywhere, all over our kitchen island. And so it's like when you walk into that initially, there's always that feeling of like stress, right? Like when you see, or chaos, right? Like those are the two main feelings that I feel, at least, coming into a messy space. And so it's like when you instantly are feeling that, like of course it's going to have some sort of effect on your day and your life, right? And so,
Mm.
the reason why I am so passionate about the products that we have for Storage Theory is because of the simplicity of it. The simplicity of being able to declutter those spaces without taking a lot of time away from people's lives. And so, when you take the time to simplify your life and organize that clutter, you're really ultimately cutting out the distractions and quite literally removing things that might be draining your energy or no longer serving you and potentially your mission.
So spot on with that. Decluttering, I don't know about you, but for me, some people can tune things out, like audio. If something's playing in the background, I'm pretty good at tuning that out. Or if somebody's talking, or little scratchy sounds or whatever, it drives my wife and daughter nuts. I can just tune it out for whatever reason, but visual stuff is hard for me because my brain is
Hmm.
things and I'm processing it. So removing a lot of that, freeing up the energy, doing more and feng shui energy, and just all of
Yeah.
that, the energy and the focus, because that, I think, is the biggest thing for entrepreneurs starting businesses, is the ability to really focus on what's the most important thing and not be squirreling to touching a million things. Have the products that you're with the company helped your focus? I'm assuming you're using a lot of these products as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's, our best-selling product that I mentioned earlier, that Power Perch outlet shelf. It's one thing I love so much about it is the main purpose is to help not only declutter, but it's really to help bring stuff up off the counter. And so
Mhm.
one of the main reasons that people use it is for like home devices, right? Whether it's like your phone or your Alexa, things like that. And so like for me, when I visibly see a clean counter, like the feeling that I get is like it puts me at ease. Like my mind
Mhm.
is at ease when I walk into my home having that clean space. And so yes, like it's helped make my life a little bit easier. We have like 15 of those shelves in our home now, so and counting.
Nice.
Right?
Love
So I'm
that.
like, it's funny. I always warn people with the Power Perch outlet shelf. I'm like, once you install two, it's a little addicting because then you're like, where else can I put one? Right.
Yeah.
And so we use one now for we've got a dog at home. And so we have one right by our front door for her shot collar and remote. So we're just trying to utilize ways to, save some time, space, but just also save some energy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love the brand. I love your story. Entrepreneurs starting from scratch, coming from the corporate world, storage theory, your spices. We'll have those links down below with the podcast. But any final thoughts for our Inventor's Edge audience?
Yeah. I mean, truly, at the end of the day, like if you have an idea on your heart and you have something you're passionate about, just go for it. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be that person, for lack of, this might sound a little morbid, but you don't want to be that person on your deathbed regretting that you hadn't at least tried. Right? Like you
Mhm.
want to be that person that you've exhausted all your options. You at least went for it, regardless what that outcome is. Like you're never guaranteed to hit a goal, but you're guaranteed to at least somewhat try to enjoy that journey.
Yeah, well spoken. Words to live by.
Yes. Yeah.
I think most people don't regret the things that they done. They more so regret the things they didn't do.
100%.
Exactly, to your point. So how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way if somebody's listening and they're like, "Ooh, I'd love to get some coaching from Liz or check out her products and things?"
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on social media, the best way to reach me, I've got two. So my personal Instagram page is at lizgarcia.me. And then our Storage Theory Instagram is at Storage Theory. But yeah, best way to reach me is usually email, which is info@storagetheory.com. So if anybody's interested in just having like a free clarity call, I do offer free clarity calls, just quick 20-30 minutes just to see if it could be a good fit for you. But then obviously, if people have any interest checking out our products, you can go to either storagetheory.com. My recommendation is to go to our Amazon storefront just so that way you can guarantee the 2-day shipping, which is amazon.com/storage theory.
Love it. And to everybody, stay in your zone of genius.
Yes, yes,
Love that. Thanks so much for coming on, Liz. We'll have to do this again.
absolutely. Thanks for having me, Scott.
Thanks for tuning in to the Inventor's Edge podcast. I'm your host, Scott Putnam, and if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a review, and please share it with fellow inventors. Your next breakthrough could be just around the corner. For more tools, tips, and resources, visit us at inventors-edge.com. Until next time, invent with purpose, innovate with passion, and bring your ideas to life.